करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
So in the elements of right living, the author has said that there are two broad principles which govern the human activities. One is giving, another is taking. Your only right is to serve. That is the statement that is given in the paragraph. One who eats without producing is verily a thief. So it must be our aim in life to orient our activities in the attitude of giving. Then we are performing our Dharma. This is where we concluded in the last class. So Dharma is the way by which a human being ought to live, which is in alignment with repayment of all the rinas. Rinas means debts. Of course, all those debts cannot be repaid in any form. Even if you do service, even if you provide material benefits, it is just not, you cannot repay. But with that attitude, whatever activity you undertake, then it will form Dharma in your life. These rinas, or the awareness of these rinas, is the starting point. It is okay for a youngster or a child to take from the society and live, but the preparation in that stage must be in such a way that when you enter the adult life, when you enter the main phase of life, you must orient yourself towards giving rather than taking. All other creatures practice this unconsciously. We have to do it consciously. So our conscious activity is therefore Dharma. Just as every creature has its own essential nature, human beings also have that essential nature which can be called as Dharma of the human beings. Only when we live our life according to this principle are we living according to the Dharma. Then he further continues as to what is the essential aspect of religious education. This is what he says, that religion should essentially make you aware of the benevolence of the nature. There is no, order. And that is not a proper religion which sort of takes power into its hands and controls. The religion itself should be designed in the form of service. Only then it can inspire the people of that religion, whoever is following the religion, to serve also. And that can happen only when the religion exposes you to the benevolence of this nature.
Religion educates you to acknowledge the benevolence that nature provides you, and to realize your obligation, duty, responsibility to repay. You are best when you are best at repaying. So must you perform your obligatory duties. But people take their duties as a heavy burden resting on their shoulders. Few realize that the greatest contributions of humanity can never compensate for the largesse of nature. All the material work you can offer is immaterial. Yet everybody hurries and worries about his work. Your approach to life should be just to do what you ought to do. That is the beginning and end of your obligation. You are not to brood over or become excited about your duty and responsibility. Your real duty in life is to remain self-poised, self-pleased. Your primary service to the world, your religious duty is to keep yourself peaceful and cheerful. To be sorrowful and miserable is a social, moral, religious crime. You ought not to spread the disease of melancholy to your fellow beings. Instead, rejuvenate their health with joy and happiness. This attitude must blend with your work. The law of life is that you laugh and the world laughs with you. Weep and none weeps with you. Rejoice, be cheerful, and people flock around you. Grieve, be miserable, they leave you alone. The world shares your pleasures, but not your woes. A human being brings sorrow and misery upon himself because of his ego and selfish desires. This happens when you focus your interest and attention upon your material equipments. The demands of the body, mind, and intellect are endless. They can never be satiated. As a result, your mind remains disturbed, restless. You are in a hellish state. You lose the paradise in you. To regain the bliss within, you need to change the focus from your ego to the divine self. The self in you is supreme, ever blissful. Leave the quarantine of your body, mind, and intellect. Seek the self. Try to be aware of the self through your life's transactions. While acting with your body, feeling with your mind, or thinking with your intellect, remember, you are the Supreme Self. You will soon regain yourself. As you think, so you become. Put this sacred law into practice.
So the life's orientation should turn from right towards duty. The individual or society, whoever is operating based on rights, they have to ultimately suffer. This is the law. And the relationships should be built based on duty. And this will be probably dealt in detail in the next chapter, where he is going to talk about action. Now, why he is bringing in that concept here is that everybody hurries and worries in this world wanting to do some work, and everything is done in the name of duty. He says, just pause and think. Whatever you do as duty and whatever you produce materially or otherwise, it cannot compensate the largesse of the nature. First, be aware of it. Only if you are aware of it, then you will know that the whole ego of a person actually goes into insignificance. Otherwise, it becomes my duty. I have to do this. I have to do this. The whole focus centers around this small personality. So he first says, just be aware of what has been provided to you. And then all the duties that you talk about in this world, be clear that your main duty in life is to be happy. This is what to say. This is like a very revolutionary thought, but very basic thought. Most of the people with all good intentions, when they are acting in the world duty bound, the ultimate test whether they are acting properly or not is whether they are finding that inner peace or happiness. What is my duty? Should I do this puja? Should I go to this temple? Should I worship? What are the daily routine duties, special duties, various duties that we can talk about? The ultimate essence of all these duties is that you must be self-poised. You must be happy. And that is the greatest service that you do to the world also. That is the important thing. You are supposed to be happy and peaceful, not just for yourself. It is your duty towards the world at large. And here is where the confusion may come. Therefore, do I do all those things which pleases me and go ahead with all my sensual indulgences? That will not work in the long run, and that is what he has covered before, that it is all some temporary happiness that you will gain. So it is understandable in this time of pandemic that we are all asked to quarantine and confine ourselves to secluded places in your own homes. No, you should not go out unless it is very essential. And we have been living this life for many months now. Now, why is it like this? Even when any disease is there in the house, like chicken pox or something, that person is quarantined. So, however much he loves other persons and however other persons love him at that point of time, you ought not to expose yourself to others because you are spreading the disease to others. So, you have to have that basic awareness and control yourself, and emotionally you should not do something because that is your responsibility, that is your duty. Just as you should not spread the disease germs at the physical level, you are not supposed to spread the disease germs of the mind also. So if you are melancholic, if you are not happy, if you are agitated, if you are having always a very depressive mood, Swami Ramatirtha says, don't come out of your room. That is at least the greatest service that you can do. Whatever you have, you spread to others. We saw in the last class, Bhajagovindam class, how the mind is connected, and this is what we do. So therefore, it is very essential to have this thought that for the sake of everyone and for my own sake, I should keep myself peaceful and happy. The moment you become peaceful and happy, see, this real happiness is, in fact, it leads us to our original state itself, which is called as Ananda. Okay, this happiness is something that you remember always, that a happiness that a child exhibits, something like that. A child is able to be effervescing with joy. It shows his inner nature just like that, without any rhyme or reason. You don't need an external reason for you to be happy. That comes from within. That is the real state of happiness, and that is what we need to work towards. Vedanta points out that is your original nature. So therefore, your activities, your duties will help you towards this. And the converse is also true. If you are able to feel that general peace and happiness, then you can say that you are doing your duties and responsibilities in the right attitude, in the right way. The moment you have this attitude of joy, you will find that everybody will get attracted towards you. Because even as you take people in their normal mood swings and everything, they are looking forward to peace, bliss all the time. And who can provide it? Who can give it? They will find out that source where it is, that is there. If they are wanting to have some solace and you yourself are more depressed and you are talking much more, in sorrow and agony, they will maybe hear from you and then they will go away. I mean, this is what we generally observe in nature. Even in your own family, you can think of some people who are relatively unselfish and who are generally wishing the welfare of other family members. It could be a old grandfather who is not doing much activity, but people will sort of flock around him because his presence lends comfort for them. In fact, Swami Ramatirtha says, when an American talks about the so-called renunciates who are doing nothing, and he arrogantly equates that to laziness, he says, what sort of activities that you are doing, and you do not know how that ultimately leads to the laziness, and you are talking about a renunciate who is lazy. That is not the case. In fact, they are doing the greatest service to the world. Think about it. If you can genuinely make others happy, and this is not the orientation, this is not your, it's not for you to reform the world and I want to make others happy, that is not the case. The moment you become self-poised, you become equanimous, you become joyful. That is what we studied in that Avadhuta Gita also, that in the 24 Gurus, that this Yadu Maharaj who is going everywhere, he is not able to find peace and bliss. And everywhere he goes, he sees people are caught up with problems and he himself is not very peaceful. He sees a person sitting under a tree only with a loincloth, nothing to have, even not a hut for him to stay, doesn't know where the food is going to come from, and yet he sees the Avyaja Mandasmita, he says. Avyaja Mandasmita is a smile without any cause, any reason. And he surrenders to him and he asks that what is the cause, what is the reason? To which he says Guru Kripa and other thing. But what point is, he who is agitated going all over the country is able to find it at the feet of a person who is doing nothing. Who is actually doing nothing. Who is just sitting under a tree. When will we reach that state? At least we must imagine that state. So our aim must be to be self-poised, that's all. That can happen only when you do the duty. Both these are interconnected. But have this in the back of the mind, that only when you do this, that you are really serving the world. So even if a person is focusing on duty, etc., he must focus it in such a way that he is able to make himself genuinely happy. That is your only duty, only responsibility. All other duties are subset of this. It is contained within this. Those who have the so what he is talking about, this laugh and the world laughs with you, it's a law. Swamiji said when he was writing the original Vedanta Treatise, at this portion he came across a poem and he included in the old VT. I do not know how many of you have old VT. That poem is there. That is not there, and the essence of it, that is what is he has given in the paragraph, because it is not a highly philosophical poem like any other poem that is here, like even they shall pass away or the turkey and the ant, like that. But it is a very simple poem by Ella Wheeler Wilcox, which says that just please laugh. Laughing is that which should come from within you without any effort. That again, go back to your own childhood where you will laugh for no reason. A paper will fall and you laugh. And interestingly, the parents or teachers, they get irritated about children laughing. The psychology is that they can't laugh. They can't laugh like children. Once we grow old, we gather so much worries and anxieties. The heart becomes very heavy, and we just are not light-hearted. Child by nature is light-hearted and it will laugh for no reason. So, if you are maintaining that effervescing joy of a child even as you grow up, then probably you are on the right spiritual path. Maybe it is. This is that old Vedanta Treatise. In that it is there. It's an interesting poem. I'll read. Laugh and the world laughs with you. Weep and you weep alone. For this brave old earth must borrow its mirth. It has sorrow enough of its own. Sing and the hills will answer. Sigh, it is lost in the air. The echoes do bound a joyful sound, but shrink from voicing care. Rejoice and men will seek you. Grieve and they turn and go. They want full measure of all your pleasure, but they do not want your woe. Be glad and your friends are many. Be sad and you lose them all. There is none to decline your nectared wine, but alone you must drink life's gall. Feast and your halls are crowded. Fast and the world goes by. Succeed and give and it helps you live, but no one can help you die. There is room in the halls of pleasure for a long and lordly train, but one by one we must all file on through the narrow aisles of pain. Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Very beautiful poem, which is very rhythmic and rhyming. Talks about how you must just laugh. Laughing does not mean trying to laugh. It is not the expression of the laughter like some people do in this laughing club and all they do. Even as you go to sometimes even in Calcutta and Lake, they do form groups. Whether that has some physical benefits, I really do not know, and it's better that you whether you want to laugh out and clap like this and it increases the blood circulation. All that is fine, but you cannot try and laugh like that. You cannot try and sleep like let me keep on yawning and let sleep will come. It will not come like that. You have to naturally go into sleep. Similarly, you have to naturally laugh, and laughter or cheerfulness is a direct product of being light-hearted. There is nothing that you need to hold very heavy in your heart. In fact, another statement made by Swamiji, which we have taken up for group discussion also, it's very interesting. Humour is outcome of philosophy. You can think about it. Humour is actually an outcome of philosophy. And life must be full of humour only. There is no way that life can be anything serious. Seriousness is only reserved for your main aim or goal in life, which is self-realization. That's all. All other things must be taken in a very, very light-hearted way. Now, this is correct that we must be happy, but practically it seems to elude us. However much we try, so much duties, responsibilities, various things bog us down. So the author says the real reason for that is that the moment the focus is on your ego and egocentric desires, you will be miserable. To that extent. To the extent that the focus is on selfish ego and egocentric desires, to that extent you will not be able to be cheerful. So Vedantic lesson is that you are not this body, mind and intellect. You are the self within. That is the knowledge of the Upanishads, and that is what should always percolate in our system through all these studies. So each and everything that affects us, we have to dismiss by saying that it is for my body, it is for my mind, it is for my intellect, not for me. I refuse to take this affectation. So this Vedantic lesson sort of insulates you. External world, which is material, will react with your body, mind, intellect, which is also material. Matter will react with matter. But our constant focus is to say that I am the spirit. I am that which is apart from all these things. So once we are able to shift the thought focus like this, then even as we perform our duties and obligations in the world, our thought is pegged somewhere else. And this is the right way to do. As you think, so you become, he says, is the law of life. Correct. The more you feel that you are sorrowful, you are miserable, and you invest a lot of your emotions and thoughts on that, the more misery is going to visit you. Those who have seen this documentary on Secret, they put it in a different way. But they show with some graphics and some videos, at least at the material level, how it works. Wherever is your deep thought invested, and that is where you become very emotional. That is what you attract in your life, they say, isn't it? That is correct. That is what you attract in your life. And that is why, even as people are caught up in, let's say, TV programs, which is majority this television serials and other things, we have these serials in all languages, and in all languages, more or less, the plot is the same, the theme is the same, and for mega serials, since they have to extend it for not weeks or months, it will go for years. And they have to bring in all sorts of plot, all sorts of, and you will find all sorts of negativities there. Now, do we have the objectivity just to see the serial as a serial and then carry on with your work? That doesn't happen. When you see the serial, it becomes part and parcel of our life, and you invest so much into seeing that. So, when you see so much sadness and negativity and tragedies in there, you don't realize that unnecessarily you are bringing that into your life. Now, this may seem very, unconnected thing as we speak, but it really works that way, because where do you invest your emotions? Why don't you just, at least in the old days when we had this Doordarshan, serials will be there, 13 weeks is allotted for them, that's it. After 13 weeks, any serial will go, and there were quality serials also. And any nice comedy or anything cartoon, if you see that how it makes your heart, or even if you watch sports or something, that's a different thing altogether. But that's what, where do you invest your thoughts and emotions much more, that is what you are attracting in your life. So be very careful in what you associate with. As you think, so you become. The moment you invest more thought on this I am the self, which is the essential lesson of Vedanta, we eventually become the self. We are caught up in this body, mind, intellect complex because we have hypnotized ourselves to believe this I am the body, I am the mind, and I am the intellect for not years but janmas together. So we have to de-hypnotize ourselves. And that is why Vedanta is a positive religion which gives us solutions. It merely does not point out where the fault is, but it gives a solution that try to shift that focus. Think I am the country, think I am the community, think I am the self. Wherever it inspires you, think about that. The moment you pitch yourself up like that, your smaller personality cannot be touched. It cannot be touched. All the things that come, they will not affect the real core of your personality. So the moment you do like this, you will find that automatically at the action level, you will be oriented towards serving the world. This is the secret. Now he goes on to the second element.
The second element of right living is love. While the physical body engages in action, let your mind embrace the world with love. Your emotions coalesce into a mass of universal love. Love is realizing your identity with the world, your oneness with the whole, failing which you are lost in an island of your own. You segregate yourself from others. You suffer the sorrow of separation, isolation. Samuel Taylor Coleridge presents this truth effectively in his poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. The poem narrates the experience of a mariner at sea. The mariner started his voyage with his heart full of love. he described the beauty of the creatures appearing in the sea. Everything turned out favorable. The ship sailed on merrily. Then came a change in the mariner's attitude. He lost love for his fellow creatures, even developed a bitterness, contempt for them. One day, as the ship was sailing along the shore, an albatross flew into it. The mariner drew his crossbow and shot it. Thereafter, he suffered a series of calamities at sea and was tortured with mental agony. Then came a change again in the mariner's attitude. Once again, he appreciated nature and her beautiful creatures. Love seeped into his parched bosom. His heart embraced his fellow creatures. He regained his harmony with nature, was happy again. Everything thereafter turned favorable. He returned to the peace and happiness of land. Coleridge epitomizes this great message in one verse. He prayeth well who loveth well both man and bird and beast. He prayeth best who loveth best all things both great and small. Thou shalt have no other God but love is the first law of Moses. People have violated this sacred law. Love is not a preferential attachment to beings. Love means identification with others, to feel exactly the same way as another does. Nothing more. What pleases others pleases you. What pains them pains you. Your pleasure and pain align with those of your fellow creatures. This is true love. A feeling that emanates from a pure mind, which keeps clear of distinction and demarcation, wherein you see yourself reflected in all. As you see your own self in different mirrors, with pure love you rise to greater spiritual heights. And when the same emotion of love turns selfish, it degrades you. You devolve. Remember, therefore, to rise in love, not fall in love.
Remember that this topic which talks about elements of right living, these are not merely values. These are the fundamental elements which form the basis of right living. In other words, there is no sort of choice here. And he has broadly given these three, and all these three are interconnected also, to give the element of right living at all the three levels of the personality. Attitude of service, which is giving rather than taking, is at the physical level. Now he has talked about love, or a pure disposition at the mental level. And then he is going to talk about knowledge at the intellectual level. This forms the basis of the next three chapters also. The next chapter is about action, the subsequent chapter is about emotion, and then about the light of wisdom. In fact, when we want to integrate all these three elements into our life, each one supplements the other, so all three have to be simultaneously acquired and practiced. Yet, the root of all it is knowledge. We'll see when we come to knowledge. But what is the test of all these things is that the test is how you really feel for others. This is essentially called love. Another word for love is identification. Identification, in simple terms, he has defined here as others' pain is my pain and others' pleasure is my pleasure. See, a person may feel pain because he is not catered to at the sensual level. So we are not saying that I must also be catered to at the sensual level. That's not the point. For whatever reason he is feeling the pain, you are able to identify with him and you are able to identify and feel that pain. Then you are in one with him. This is called as love. And genuinely, for whatever reason the other person is happy, you are feeling exactly the same happiness. See, most of the time what happens is that when others go through some sort of a pain for whatever reason, some family problem, something like that, you do feel, say, oh, very sorry for him. But in the subsequent chapters we are going to see that in detail. Sometimes psychologically you put yourself in the position because you are not going through that pain and they are going through that pain. You outwardly say, oh, poor thing, it should not happen and this and that, but that intensity of feeling with which he is having that emotion, you may not be able to feel, and that is not true love. This is not to say that you are having something negative or something in your mind. It's not being that. But love does not really stop here. The intensity of the feeling is something different. Rather, the extension of this, you can see your own experiences. That's why we cannot point out this in any one unless we know that person. But in general, you will find some people when that same other person who was earlier feeling somewhat pain or sorrow because of some experience, he is now effervescing with joy for something. Maybe he won a lottery or maybe whatever. He had some very happy experience and he is feeling extreme joy. And outwardly you will say congratulations and other thing, but you get irritated beyond a point when he is celebrating too much. I mean, or you try to turn away and mind your business or something like that. That intensity with which he is feeling the joy, we will not be able to feel it. It's exactly the same way that the intensity with which he is able to feel the sorrow, we are not able to feel it. Again, I am not saying this is to say that you are a negative person, but there is a limitation with which our identification is there when we relate to others. To break that barriers and feel the same way as others is practice of love. Narsi Mehta, a great devotee, he sings this famous song everybody knows, favorite of Mahatma Gandhi also, because he comes from the same area in Gujarat where Narsi Mehta comes from. So I think in Gujarati that song is Vaishnava Janato Tene Kahiye Je Peed Parai Jane. Who is a Vaishnava? Ramanujacharya, who is the greatest Vaishnava we can say in the parampara of Acharyas, and he sort of re-established what we know as the school of thought, which is Vishishta Advaita, and established Vaishnavism all over the country. He gave various ways by which you have to express yourself as a Vaishnava, which included various physical attributes also, like which way you will put the tilak and what parts of the body it will cover and various other rituals associated with it. These are all essential things also. But then he defines who is a real Vaishnava or devotee of Vishnu. It is in the same way. One who is able to feel the pleasure of the others as his own pleasure. One who is able to feel the pain of others as his own pain. He alone is a true Vaishnava. In other words, this forms the essential aspect of being a devotee of God. It's very interesting. The same thought is given in this verse by Samuel Coleridge in the poem The Rime of Ancient Mariner, which is quoted in the book here. He prayeth well who loveth well, both man and bird and beast. He prayeth best who loveth best all things both great and small. The voyage of ancient mariner gives a parallel to our own life. In fact, we have not read this poem, but Swamiji has narrated it in the class that this person finishes the voyage and comes to the shore. And he is now filled with that experience. He has reached the shore. The voyage is over and he has reached the shore and he is filled with that experience of fulfillment. And he wants to give it to others. So there is a big function or festival or ceremony that's going on, and various music and everything is there. Maybe a marriage or something is going to happen, and people are going towards that to attend. So he sees 3 people go. He leaves the first person, he leaves the second person, catches hold of the third person. And he is wanting to very eagerly narrate his experience. So he starts by saying that there was a ship. There was a ship means his own ship that which went on a voyage. He starts by saying there was a ship, quoth he. He started quoting like that. The other person became restless. He says, leave me. I have to go to the function. What are you doing? I have this engagement. I have this appointment. He says, leave me. So the ancient mariner immediately leaves his hand. But the poet says that he caught him with his glittering eye. He left his hand, but the other person was not able to move. Why? He had arrested him with his eyes. Such was his magnetic personality. So other person is now sort of lamenting. He is neither able to go there. He is wanting to be here. So he doesn't go and he says, okay, come on, tell me, that sort of a state he is saying. And then this mariner narrates his experience. Now, what is the significance? It's very interesting how Swamiji has interpreted this. So the person who is going towards that function, wherever it is happening, the wedding ceremony or something, is the worldly attractions. And this person is having a spiritual experience. So from the point of view of a guru or a rishi who has had that experience, he wants to give out to the world as the knowledge. The 3 people who are going there represent the 3 types of people who are broadly tamasic, rajasic and sattvic. The tamasic and rajasic people who are fully involved and going towards the world, they are not prepared to gain this knowledge. So he leaves them and catches hold of the third one, who is the sattvic person, who is ready for this knowledge. And yet that person is also not knowing, not having that awareness. He is somewhat caught up in the world. But his inner personality gets attracted towards the spirituality which is oozing out through this person. And then he is ready to receive this knowledge. And that is when he says about his voyage, where he starts and everything was very good and very nice. And he is enjoying his journey. And suddenly his attitude changes. That's what Swamiji narrates in the paragraph. His attitude changes and he is looking down upon the creatures as something very disgusting. Slimy creatures and slimy sea, like that he says. He is not able to enjoy anything. He is having a negative feeling. And that gets immediately reflected in the change of the environment or the atmosphere. When everything was going smooth, suddenly there is absolute sort of a drought even in the middle of the ocean in the ship that he is there. So that is when probably there he says water everywhere, not a drop to drink. There is no water. There is absolutely no water. Everybody is suffering. Going through a very bad phase, everybody, because of him. And to top it all, with all this negativity, what he had done is that an albatross, which is a very big bird, maybe a gentle, nice bird, he shoots it with his crossbow. and that is sort of the last straw, and everything after that happening is very difficult for him and everybody in the ship. So sort of the co-passengers, sailors and others, they curse him. The dead albatross they put on the neck of this ancient mariner, and that is where the term in English has come, you have albatross on your neck. That you carry this burden, you are carrying your sin like this. Albatross, unnecessary weightage you are carrying because of your own action. And to that extent, the mood swing in him has taken the experience also to the other side. Then again there is a shift in his attitude. He sees everything as an expression of divine, the beauty in the nature. Suddenly there is, of course we do not know, as I said we have not read the poem, but as narrated we are saying, but the poem only says that the love must come in your bosom. How that love comes we will see different later. But this experience of this feeling of love now percolates his system. He is beginning to see everything with a different vision, with a different eye. He is feeling extremely happy being with them, looking at them, and he is feeling one with them. Immediately there is rain and everybody is thirst is quenched and everything like that. So he understands how the life should be. Then the ships start sailing properly, and then he reaches the shore. And this is probably the essence of the experience that he is telling. So this poem has the parallel of our own voyage in this life, the sea of life. So everything will be smooth for us only when we adopt this element of love. When you are able to see yourself in others and others in you, which is often repeated in Gita and Upanishads, that is the essence of love, that is the essence of bhakti. That is why in the poem also he says, he prayeth well who loveth well. Your prayer towards God is essentially love towards fellow beings. The Poornam Adah poem also is going to say this. Later in the book also it comes. If you are showing that unconditional love towards your fellow beings, you are actually practicing devotion to God. Love and God are not different. Upanishad also says this. If you put a form to love, it will resemble Ishvara. It will resemble God. That is why when we are deeply in devotion, your mind will not have any other feeling towards the fellow beings except love. This works at the level that we are trying to focus also. Suppose, see, we say it's very easy to say, at least in this class here, all of us are students of Vedanta. We must have a feeling amongst ourselves without any resistance as just fellow Vedantins, that's all. But how to love? How am I to express my love for my fellow Vedantins here means, if I am devoted to that source under whose umbrella everybody comes, then only my feeling will be uniform for everybody who is under that umbrella. See, suppose if I am able to visualize everybody as a devotee of Swamiji, or everybody as a student of this particular book or subject, if I am able to deeply have that emotion for that source, which is that master, which is that God, which is that book, which is whatever it is, then alone can we have universal feeling, whoever is in that circle. If you are deeply in devotion or love with your father or parent, only then you will have a genuine love towards your siblings, brothers and sisters, because they are also from the same source. That is how it will come. So each and everything is connected to a source. Each and everything is coming under a broader umbrella. Your identification must be with that. So ultimately, when you take this focus towards the Supreme Self and then you see it pulsating everywhere, there will be what is known as universal love. And that is what he gives by this example of seeing in the mirror. When you see yourself in the mirror, in some places there will be lots of mirror. You will find those mirrors are reflecting one another infinite times. An ignorant dog which goes will see very many dogs who are all various things, which can be friend, enemy, various things. But you, when you go, or a prince when he goes, he admires himself in all the mirrors because he knows all the reflections are himself. So ultimately, all those things that you see are only yourself. This is the feeling. And this feeling of love and other emotions is taken up in detail in the subsequent chapter here. Now he goes on to the third element, which is knowledge.
The third element of right living is knowledge. As the body serves and the mind loves, the intellect must seek true knowledge. The knowledge that distinguishes the spirit from matter, that discerns the eternal from ephemeral, the real from the unreal, the knowledge which enables you to perceive the underlying divinity in all beings, the changeless substratum in the changing phenomena of this world. Such knowledge is derived through independent reflection and contemplation upon the truths laid down in the scriptures. It is not mere erudition or scholarship in scriptural literature, but the assimilation and absorption of the knowledge embedded therein, the knowledge that reveals the self within. People have distanced themselves from the self, unaware of their essential being. They are lost in ignorance. The ignorance of self manifests as three mental temperaments.
It is interesting to note that even in this topic, the space allotted for the first element is much more. Then it little reduces when it comes to love. And just one paragraph he has given for knowledge. As it becomes subtle, it becomes difficult to explain. And all that is given in essence here. It is for us to think about. And obviously, as I said, he is going to explain in detail in the subsequent chapter also. The element at the body level is service and sacrifice, and at the mental level is love. And at the intellectual level, he is talking about knowledge. Knowledge which is normally understood in the world as some information that we acquire from outside, that is not being referred here. Knowledge is here an internal awareness. An awareness with which you are able to perceive the reality. A three-dimensional vision from within, that is the real knowledge here. You are able to discriminate what is real from the unreal, what is eternal from the ephemeral. A perception with which you are able to see the underlying reality, a X-ray vision. And it is in the same sense that the term knowledge is used in the 18th chapter of Gita, which again it's coming in the 8th chapter of Vedanta Treatise, is the classification of knowledge, where he talks about sattvic knowledge, the real knowledge. Sattvic knowledge, which ultimately leads to the knowledge of the self. It is still part and parcel of the world, but in your thoughts are, in a way that awareness is there within you, by which you are seeing something different apart from the external, tangible, whatever you see. What you see is two-dimensional outside, an X-ray vision by which you are able to see something which is deep inside. That is awareness. In fact, when we said that how does the love percolate, it is through the knowledge only. It is through the knowledge. It is when we said that you align yourself with that source, which is like the umbrella under whom everybody comes, and you are able to focus on that, then obviously the feeling of love will be there, embracing everybody. But that focus, that vision has to be there where your intellect is able to penetrate and fix itself there. That is what he means by knowledge here. I'm finding it difficult to explain. That is the awareness. So the external knowledge that we gain here is also essential, but this should ultimately result in that internal knowledge that he is talking about here. And that is not gained by mere study. It has to be further reflected upon. It has to be drawn from within you. The external knowledge should aid in gaining this internal wisdom. That is true knowledge. That is called as awareness. Assimilation and absorption of the knowledge within, the knowledge that reveals the self within. So that is the test of this knowledge. The test of this knowledge is, as you gain this knowledge, it is able to slowly reveal the self within. So your perception of the world changes. Just as a person is able to perceive the underlying cotton in all the dress materials, a person is able to have the knowledge of the gold when he is able to transact with all the ornaments. Beyond the names and forms of all the ornaments, he is able to pay his attention only on the gold. That type of a knowledge. So these three things, these three elements form the basic elements of right living: the service, love and knowledge. And unaware of this essential knowledge of the self, he says, people have distanced themselves because of ignorance. The ultimate ignorance, in one way, is also termed as Maya in Vedanta, and this expresses itself as three gunas. One of the most fascinating contributions of Vedanta, and particularly Bhagavad Gita, is this classification into three gunas. This is a very important and essential lesson. It's a very fundamental and basic lesson. We have gone through this many times, but for those who are new, this classification of human mind into three gunas forms one of the essential lessons of Vedanta, which we'll see in the next class. If there are any questions, you can unmute and ask.
So you had asked about that majority and minority thing in the last class.
Yeah, you thought about it?
Yes.
What is the answer?
So you had asked us, why is it that you consider yourself to be in a minority when you experience obstacles and resistance from your circle, but at the same time you're actually in the majority. And what I was able to think was, minority could be perhaps only with reference to your circle of people, in your immediate circle, whereas majority is more microcosmic, where everything right from the planets and stars to the animals, plants, etc., all functioning in alignment to the spiritual laws only. So
right, yes. that is the way he explains. So the moment you align yourself with the self within and you launch yourself on the spiritual path, invariably the entire nature conspires to only help you, and this is what is symbolized by all aspects of nature falling in line with the movement of Lord Rama as he goes in search of Sita. So you have the monkeys, the bears, and even the rocks. everything just helping him. So if you even consider the whole of humanity, it is still a very small minority compared to the whole universe which is supporting you. So never ever think that you are alone or you are isolated or nobody is supporting you. This is not, of course, you are not dependent on the support of others, but the plan of nature is that everything and everybody will be aligned, because they have naturally no other choice but to align themselves in this way. So you are always in a majority. You are always in the right path, and everybody and every aspect of nature is going to support you. It really does not matter if a few human beings do not do, and they will also eventually turn around and come your way. This is the right way of understanding. No promotion.
Poornam Adah Poornamidam Poornat Poornamudachyate Poornasya Poornamadaya Poornamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.